still.
Well, you took some stills, didn't you?
Well, I did, yeah. I should have taken more. That's darn it. I could have linked you. I'm gonna all send them to you. You and Joe's with the walk. I thought maybe people would be cutting my leg and quick pictures.
Did he say?
Like that song?
Yeah. So you can hear what you're saying.
Well, I suppose the only way I could get a still shot of that northern is to take a picture on the TV, yeah? Freeze it on the TV.
Yeah?
No, not Georgiana. Georgiana. And the camping is a chef, or they stop on all these little beach restaurants and stuff that's what I'd like to do. You know, go for a week, just on the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
Should have gone up there and let him teach you. Here's the view out of the window, St. Mary's Church.
I think for a little bit we should have one of Aunt Ethel's famous improvised bingo games. Yeah. So we'll modify it a little bit and we'll play hands up bingo. I want to call out the area that you come from or your family. I want everybody to raise their hand and yell out bingo as loud as you can. We'll try a test one here. Emerson family.
Bingo!
That could have been a little louder. Everybody here from Arizona? All right, boy, they have come from a long ways. Everybody here from Iowa? All right. Let's have one for everybody who hasn't yelled bingo from the Pappas, the extended Pappas family. I love that one. That's a good one. Everybody from the Reveling family. And now we'll have one from the Listy family. All right. Now everybody from the Minneapolis, St. Paul area and suburbs who didn't already go bingo. Everybody else from outstate Minnesota. Who did it? Did we miss any states? Everybody here from Iron Lake. All right. Aunt Ethel gives you special thanks to all of you for coming. And I'd like to give a special thanks to my sister Peg, who was handed a very big football by her brother. And she took that football and she ran with it. And she put this thing together. Let's give her a round of applause. Special thanks to St. Mary's Greek-Orthodox Church, where Ethel was a member for many years, and her husband, Uncle Nick, was a pioneer member. Special thank you to Pastor C. Owen Christensen of Moose Lake Hope Lutheran Church for giving us the blessing. We are very fortunate to have the Chris Klogerson Music here, providing traditional Greek music with his daughter Kali and her Palikaria, her brave Greek men. Chris has known Aunt Ethel for many decades, and I used to go fishing many times with his father, Bill. We call him Mr. Bill. They'll be playing some right from a happy birthday right into some traditional Greek dance tunes. So I hope everybody can join hands, and here's those who know the dances can teach those who don't know. We'll get in a line, and those who can't dance can sit back and enjoy the music. Many of you remember the great parties that Aunt Ethel used to throw at 38th and Nicollet, or at 28th and Stinson Boulevard, or up at Island Lake. She would cook tremendous quantities of good food, invite everybody over. There was always room for one more. She gives of her time to people. She listens to you. She can bake 3 cakes at once while lending you her ear to hear you out.
I want a piece of her chocolate.
Yeah, me too.
All right, yeah. That's what we should have, yeah.
I want to know what prizes she bought for people. You always got prizes.
Okay, now I'm glad you brought that up because you have a little card at each place and you can sign your name on it and you can make a little message to Aunt Ethel. We'll collect them later and I'm going to have a drawing for some wine bottles.
And you girls win.
As a young girl, Aunt Ethel was known as the sweetheart of 38th Street. The Minneapolis Park Board wanted her to continue to work at the snack bar down at Minnehaha Falls, but Uncle Nick knew a good employee when he saw one. And he prevailed over the Minneapolis Park Board to hire her at his store on 38th and Nicholas. Eventually they were married in 1940. This 90th birthday party overlooking Lake Calhoun is a very appropriate location. Because Ethel's father, Big Charlie Anderson, was a parkour construction foreman, and his crew built structures for the city parks and improved the lakes by channeling and dredging. Her brothers, Chuck, Axel, and Harry, worked many years. Some of the trees that graced Lake Calhoun were planted by her brothers. She was always everybody's favorite of the Big Anderson family. She takes time to listen to you. And how important that is in this electronic age. By listening and talking to you, she helps you solve your problems. But she goes farther than that. She had a policeman friend take one of her brothers down to the courthouse to show him some mug shots of some unsavory characters he was hanging out with back in the roaring 20s. She straightened him out. She has helped me with my problems. She talked to the principal when I got in trouble in high school. She talked to my first boss when I got in trouble on my first job. When I went into the Army, and I said to her, Auntie, how are you going to get when I was headed for the war, how are you going to get me out of this one? Well, she said, well, you're on your own now. Keep a stiff upper lip and don't take any wooden nickels. She wrote to me every single week. She kept me straight, helped me keep a clear perspective, and I just love her for that. What Ethel really loved to do in her quiet times between the rounds of company at the lake was to sneak out early in the morning and go fishing from shore. When the lake was calm, fishing is a family tradition. I would like to dedicate an old Swedish poem to Ethel. It's by Carl Michael Bellman, Sweden's greatest lyric poet. It's about getting up early in the morning and trying to make of somebody else to go fishing. The lake is calm, but a storm threatens. The rainbow gleams over the water, and the pike are waiting in ambush. The gear is packed and the boat is ready to go. I would like to read it in the original Swedish. Tag dina metspån rever och dragen, nu börjar dagen. Finde dig, söta min lilla, tänk icke illa, skulle du vilja näcka med. Låt oss fara till den lilla grunda, eller dit bort till det gröna sunda. Där var kärlek knutet till förbunda, däröver tusis så har med det sig. Stick då i båten, sjungan vi båda. Kärlek ska råda i vart bröst. Tills i hanar, männa han larmar, i dina armar är en tröst. Lyckliga på havets breda boja, I din stilla famn kan jag dig dölja. Ryddaren i hjärtat vill jag följa. Sjungen så ringar hjärnan med en röst. Thank you. I'd like to remind you again about the wine drawing. Be sure to get your cards filled out. We will have that. And the music will be going on. And right now I would like, anybody can come up and talk, but first here my young son has been chomping at the bit to say a few words. So we'll have Eric Johnson. He goes to the University of Minnesota Liberal Arts College in Morris, Minnesota. He's a junior there in pharmacy.
Well, I'd like to share my experiences with the Aunt Ethel I know. I think I've been kind of fortunate to have grown up right next door. I could always in the summer I could go down there, and she'd always have her door open. That's one thing I've always liked. She has patience for you. She takes the time with her cooking, her ginger cookies, her sugar cookies, her Greek specialties, her cakes, whatever. She really, when you go there, it's the people who count. That's what makes Aunt Ethel so special. No matter what else, she really makes you feel at home and comfortable. And another thing is her stories and her tales. She's really enlarged my view of South Minneapolis back in the 20s and 30s, and the Island Lake area. And also, she even knows a few ghost tales too, and strange stories, really that keep your interest, rich in detail. She's just been very special, and I just like to say that it's just wonderful that everyone has turned out for this occasion, and happy birthday, Aunt Ethel.
Now, if anybody would like to say a few words, just feel free to come up.
It would take forever.
Can you hear me if I don't hold it? I'd just like to say a few words about what Aunt Ethel did on the 4th of July, which was the real date of her birthday. Since we had decided to celebrate today, which is the 15th, we thought we'd take it easy on the 4th of July. And we planned a trip to the state capitol. It seemed very fitting to do that because of the 4th of July, and because every time we go by the building, Ethel will mention that she had never been inside the building. So Marlo and I picked Aunt Ethel up, and off we went. And the Taste of Minnesota was on the mall of the Capitol that day. And so the Historical Society staff thought that they had better give a taste of something too to the public. And it wasn't a taste, they were giving half-hour tours. When normally they're 45 minutes. Aunt Ethel saw golden horses that are on top of the Capitol with Quadriga, and they have been gone for a year. They were sent to Connecticut, which you probably read about, for restoration. They were just installed again in June. She saw the rotunda where people hold rallies and give speeches and award ceremonies. She saw the marble pillars and the marble staircases and the marble floor. There are 13 kinds of marble in the Capitol, and most of it's from Europe. There's a few of the things are made of Minnesota marble, but for one thing, the balustrades on the railing are made from marble from Greece. She went into the governor's reception room, which is the most elegant room in the Capitol, and she saw the Supreme Court chamber and the Senate chamber and the House chamber, and both of them have been restored. within the last 5 years to what they looked like in 1905 when the Capitol opened its doors to the public. And when the tour guide said 1905, it really, I hadn't realized this before, but here was Aunt Ethel, born in 1905, and she's seen every change that the Capitol has seen. I thought that was a unique experience. That she should be here on Independence Day. Aunt Ethel, as you know, is very independent. Speaking of politics, what I really wanted to do right now is make a presentation to Aunt Ethel. I don't know how this happened, but I got a package in the mail the other day in Ethel's name and my address. And so, because it was my address, I opened it. And I thought, and Ethel hasn't seen it yet, so I thought I'd read it to you first and then present it to her. It says, "Happy birthday. On this very special occasion, we are pleased to join with your family and friends in wishing you a wonderful day and a healthy and joyful year. Best wishes for every future happiness." Signed, Bill Clinton and Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Well, we couldn't let the occasion go by without hearing from this side, right? I was reminiscing a little bit with some of Aunt Ethel's little canasta gals down there in the corner. And I always said that Aunt Ethel was the only gal that I knew that cheated fairly. Aunt Ethel and I used to play canasta with my sister and Mary Mulaney. And Aunt Ethel and I always paired up, and we always used to just skunk them. And they used to get just absolutely livid. And the only price was that the losers had to do the dishes. So that was, we figured, not too bad. Well, then one time Aunt Ethel said, "You know, I don't think it's fair that they always end up doing the dishes." I said, "No, I don't think it's fair either. However, if they can't cheat as well as you can, then they deserve to do the dishes." So she agreed. She was the only one that ever introduced a 4-deck canasta. Now, anybody that plays canasta knows that you can't even hardly hold 4 decks in your hand, let alone play with it. So anyhow, that was my canasta buddy right there. I have to tell you another story. Everybody knows that Aunt Ethel is famous for her chocolate cakes, right? Right. Particularly her chocolate frosting. Well, my sister married a little bit later in life than most of us, and she and her intendant had to go up to the lake to ask Uncle Nick's permission to get married, seeing as to how he was the patriarch. So as usual, he's in the living room sitting down talking to Kay and Bill, and Aunt Ethel is in the kitchen making a chocolate cake. So Kay wanders in because Bill's going to ask Uncle Nick now for Kay's hand in marriage. Now, remember, Kay is 38 and Bill is 42, 43. Yeah, but he's got to ask permission from Uncle Nick. Well, he says, Uncle Nick, he said, "Hey, I'm not your uncle yet. You know, that's Uncle Nick. I'm not your uncle." And Ethel's in the kitchen, and boy, she's beating that cake like you wouldn't believe. Well, he says, I guess you're right, Mr. Spell. He says, I really came up here just to ask your permission to marry your niece. Well, he says, you know, he says, it's got to be a good marriage. That's all there is to it, he said. And Bill said, yes. And Ethel's turning around, and she's looking at Uncle Nick wondering, now what's this guy going to say? Well, he says, you know, he says, if you've got a marriage half as good as Aunt Ethel's and mine, he says, it'll be great. Nothing happens with the cake, you know, Aunt Ethel's wondering, now what's going to come out of this man's mouth? But because, you know, there's really a reason that our marriage is so great. It's because I'm so perfect. You remember that? And Uncle Nick, I'm so perfect. Well, with that, Aunt Ethel dropped the cake. She turned around and she looked at it, and she didn't say one word, but she finished the frosting. And she says, this frosting's going to be the best frosting I ever made, because I've never heard such a total big lie. Right, Aunt Ethel? You have all of our love. You know that. You've always had it. She's really been a real aunt. You know, way back in the olden days, when the Greek men used to get married, it was very seldom that they married somebody that wasn't Greek. But Aunt Ethel fit in so well, we don't think of her as being Swedish until we hear somebody like Bert get up and tell that. I tell you, it really was all Greek to us. But anyhow, she's always been a very dear part of our family. Aunt Ethel in good health. We hope that we're around for your 100th birthday. We love you. My name is Joyce Jensen, and I represent the canasta group that Ethel has played cards with for over 10 years. And she has been the person that everybody, when we draw numbers, we always want to get the number that Ethel has because she is usually a winner. But Ethel we meet about once a month, and there's hardly anything that has kept Ethel away from our parties. She broke her wrist once, and she had a special card holder so she could play. She has had knee surgery. She's had all kinds of things happen, but she almost always gets up and goes and comes to the party. And she is a very, very spirited lady, and we love her a lot.
We're just gonna make this really quick. We have something to say about Aunt Ethel. First of all, my name is Stacy Pappas, and I'd just like to say to Aunt Ethel, happy birthday, and may all your wishes and dreams come true.
My name is Kendall Harton, and I just like to say that everybody loves you. I mean, ever, no matter how old you get, you're still going to be the same as Kendall. My name is Emily Pappas, and I just like to say happy birthday. My name is Jennifer Pappas, and I also like to say happy birthday.
And I'd also like to say happy birthday to Aunt Ethel, but really what I wanted to do was come up here and relate one of the many wonderful stories that I could tell you about Aunt Ethel, but in particular, one thing that sticks out in my mind. I can remember as a little girl growing up, my father would always take me over grudgingly to Uncle Nick and Aunt Ethel's. The reason being I was always a very active and mischievous child, and I think he was afraid that I was going to get into trouble and Uncle Nick was going to rip into him. Anyways, we would get over there, but on the way over, my father would always say, no, when we get to Uncle Nick's, he says, you're going to go in, you're going to sit down on the couch in the den, and you're not going to move a muscle. If you get up and move, Uncle Nick's going to tear into you, and then me next. So he says, you get over there, you be on your best behavior, you don't move. So we'd get into the house, and I was already scared going through the door because here was formidable Uncle Nick waiting for us when we got there. We'd go into the den, and we'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden Aunt Ethel would come into the room. She'd say, sweetheart, you come on into the kitchen with me. And we'd run into the kitchen, and she'd whip up one of her famous desserts. But I just wanted to say that I love you, Aunt Ethel, and whether you realized it or not, I really appreciated your love, your patience, but most of all, your insight in understanding how fearful Uncle Nick could be to a child like myself. Thank you for your love and your patience all these years. I wish you many, many more birthdays than like Aunt Angie, so let's do this again on your 100th.
You folks, you realize this is just a rehearsal party for the 90th, where the real...
And I say, Aunt Ethel, even though Uncle Nick and Aunt Ethel and my family were not related in any way, my father was best man at their wedding. They were buddies. They changed And they certainly affected the course of politics in the Greek church. And when they come over on St. John's Day, that was one night that we 4 children were allowed to stay up all night. And we would be dancing in circles, doing the Greek dancing, and the neighbors wondered what was going on with these people kept running around in circles. They'd stay up and watch us. And at a certain time, we were supposed to go up and go to bed so that we could get to school the next day, if there was school the next day. This is January 7th, St. John's Day. And we would take turns, the 4 of us, lowering each other head first down the staircase so we could peek through the rails and watch what was going on, while the other 3 would be holding our ankles or tickling our feet. And I'll never forget Uncle Nick was sitting in a chair where he could see what was going on, and he kept motioning to us, go to bed, go to bed. And finally we would give up and go to bed, and get up high-eyed tired the next day, and get to school. But the wonderful parties that we had at Aunt Ethel's house. Talk about baking cakes, she'd bake them after we got there. A chocolate, a spice, a white with all different frostings. And I say, Aunt Ethel, you don't have a recipe. And she says, I don't need a recipe, but I think I need another egg in this batter. Add another one and keep right on going. And it was just, and there was a piano, and we always had music. And they have been like an aunt and an uncle to the Villas family. We have thoroughly enjoyed having them as part of our adopted family. So happy birthday, Aunt Ethel. Never forget you. And I'm sending some of these folders to Sister Lou in California and to Sister Mary in Moorhead and to Brother Jim, so they all know what a wonderful time we had here today.
Thank you, that was very special.
Thank you to all of you for coming here today. You don't know how I appreciate it. I didn't intend to have anything here today. In fact, I said I'd like to tell him not to have anything. And here we all are. I can't tell you how happy it made me. And Priscilla was sitting at my wedding. I wondered if she would give us a little song tonight. Where is she?
I'm here. I'm right here. I just left home. Well,
She sang at my wedding. So you know, I think the family was wonderful, and all my, well, I can't say anything more. Thank you all.
That was wonderful, Aunt Ethel.
And Ethel, I would just like to say, when we were growing up, we used to come to the lake and play bingo and canasta. And you and Uncle Nick, we didn't know our grandparents because they died before we were born. But you were always like our grandparents, so you've always been more of a grandmother than an aunt. I wish you long life and happy birthday.
That's wonderful. Please feel free to come up. And now I think it's time we'll sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ethel. Happy birthday to you. Now let's get to bring on the cake and bring on the music. Beautiful, beautiful Greek music.
They need pollen here. These countries just have them.
Do you show a picture of the dog? Karen? Do you show her a picture of the dog?
Oh, she's seen it.
Yeah, she saw him, yeah. significance of that sculpture is, but